Alright guys, what's happening? My name's Dylan Lee and welcome to RMC, Real Men Cry, the podcast. I'd like to welcome my first guest today, Mr. Richard Mackenzie. You will know him as Mullet from Black for Pleasure Beach.
Pleasure Beach Experience.
There we go. Is the correct company that he YouTube channel he does.
Hello.
Hi Rich, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, very excited to be here.
Very excited, grand.
This is something like it's my first podcast. Something a bit different, so yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Very excited to have you on, Rich. So obviously, I asked you to be on this, and I knew you'd want to be on it because I know that you've got lots of stuff to talk about, and I know that obviously having been friends with you for the past 3 years, I know your own personal mental health struggles. So I knew that you'd be a great guest to have on. So we're just sort of going to take it as it goes, go with the flow, see what happens. That's sort of like what I think we should just do. Just chat.
This not a scripted thing at all, so I don't really know where to start. Like,
just start with whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't even have to be chronological. You can just chat.
This is going to take a while. I'll just give an introduction as to sort of what I've gone through, and then sort of I'll do my best to sort of give some advice.
I should point out that whatever we say, don't take it as God's advice. What helps for Rich or myself or any of the guests might not necessarily work and help for you, so don't take everything that we say that's helped us as sound gospel advice, because it just might not work for you, and we don't want to make you worse than what you already are.
So starting off like childhood, obviously I know some of you listening, you'll know me very well. So my parents divorced. I can't remember exactly what age I was. 4 or 5. Like, I had my first few years in school were all right. But my parents divorced when I was around 4 or 5 years old. When you're that age, you're too young to sort of really understand like how it feels. Like you can't really understand sort of what your parents have been through, and you can't really feel it properly at like 4 or 5 years old. Going further up in school, like sort of around when I was 7, 8 years old, that's when things sort of started getting quite tough in school. For those of you who don't know as well, I got diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome as well in my sort of late years in primary school. So that's always contributed towards my sort of, I've suffered with anxiety and depression over the years as well. Like ever since sort of end of primary school, start of secondary school, that's when things started getting really, really bad. I'm trying not to make this sound like a sympathy story, but got to the sort of, because I was there's another thing as well which probably didn't like help me through childhood, is I grew up and I've lived in a lot of different places through my life. So
you lived in Scotland?
Like I spent the majority of my childhood living up in Scotland. Like, I was born in Lincolnshire, educated early on through educated my early years in Lincolnshire, and then moved up to Scotland when I was about 8. I don't really remember a lot of sort of Lincolnshire and whatever, so I would say I was really raised in Scotland. Scotland was kind of a turning point. Like, I didn't really sort of settle there and experienced a lot of issues going through school, and that's really when my mental health started just like taking a turn for the worse. Like, I found it very hard to attend school. Suffered with a lot of anxiety, had really, really bad depression, to the point where I was sort of, I was 12 years old and I was plotting suicide, messed up.
So what was that like at 12 years old, to have those sort of thoughts going through your head?
Tough. They were strong thoughts. I did attempt suicide on a few different occasions. I did take myself down to a train station on a few occasions. Obviously never did it because I'm still here.
Obviously. I don't know about you, but I think sometimes laughter is a really good way of being happy and trying to get over things.
Yeah.
I know since I met you, and particularly like all of the other boys that we're friends with, I've just found that laughing and going out with you lot has really improved my own mental health.
Yeah.
In terms of like, I will go out with you guys, whether it's to Thorpe Park or Warren Towers or Blackpool. Yeah, I'm excited for Blackpool.
I think laughter and spending time with your friends is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah.
When you are in a poor sort of mental state. That's just my own experience. Just hanging around with friends, and often sometimes you've got to drag yourself out.
It's just interesting because, so obviously a few years ago, when I was back in a dark place, and I remember talking to you about, you were saying that laughter and being with everybody was really good for you. This is why I also say don't take what we say as advice, because when Richard said that to me, at that particular point in my life, all I wanted to do was be alone. And I didn't really want to be with people because I was going through a lot of heavy stuff at that point, which you'll hear about, or you may have heard about, I don't know what order, but you're probably going to hear about that in a future episode, where I talk about my own stuff, individually, in depth. But I was going through a lot of really heavy stuff. I didn't want to be with people. I wanted to be alone. I thought that people were all dickheads.
Yeah.
Especially our friends.
Yeah.
Like, our friends are just not serious at all.
Like, we don't take life seriously at all, do we? Like, our sort of close circle of friends, we just,
I mean, you all know, you all know our lot. You know our lot, and none of us take things seriously.
Yeah, we just have a laugh.
Yeah, and I think at that time, specifically, it was just, there was a lot going on, and I didn't want to be around people, not just those guys, I didn't want to be around people in general. So that's just what I was experiencing.
And that's the thing though, like, everyone's different, everyone's got their own way of dealing with the challenges that mental health bring.
Whereas obviously, look now, I'd much rather be with you lot than be on my own. If I'm on my own, those bad thoughts start coming back. Yeah.
No, I think it's far easier to start as I say, my own opinion, it's far easier to start overthinking and just thinking too much when you're on your own. If you're out with your mates, people who you love, you're not gonna you're distracted from those thoughts. So
I agree.
For me, that's a far better way of dealing with it. And other thing as well, like, and I can use this, like, in my own experience as well, like, turn into things like alcohol, cigarettes. For me, like, totally the wrong. It feels like at the time, it feels like a good thing to do, but after, when you've got the hangover, and then days after, you just realise just how bad turning to these sort of stimulants is for your mental health. Like, sort of back in November, December, I wasn't really working a lot. Like, I was still training, I wasn't in kind of full time, so I was out a lot, like seeing my friends. We were out having quite a few drinks, and it's not until sort of the end of December came round, when I'd sort of been on it solidly, that I actually realised that I wasn't in a good state again, because I'd just been drinking so much, smoking a lot as well. It just wasn't good. Turned myself around sort of start of the year, and then I've started going to the gym again.
And you're looking great.
Yeah, like I've been to the gym, and from the time we've recorded this episode as well, I'm also just over 2 weeks now without a cigarette, which I feel amazing for.
Wish I could do that.
It's tough, but you know what? When you get to sort of the stage I am, you just feel fantastic.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. But and that's another thing. Like I put forward to people as well. Like there's so many healthy ways you can improve, like your mental health. Just going out for a walk, going out for a run, going to the gym. You know, a lot of people say, I just can't be arsed with getting fit. It's not so much about getting fit.
It's about being positive, being healthy.
Exactly.
Because your brain, as much as obviously your body is important, your brain is the most important thing in your body. So if you don't keep your brain healthy and look after your brain, then the rest of your body is just not.
Yeah.
Your body is a temple for what's going on up here.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? That since last year, so I finished working as an actor at a specific attraction in London.
Yeah.
And then I worked at a pub, and I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bitchiness in that pub.
Yeah.
Not between, like, it was some of the staff were just, they would talk shit to customers, and I didn't like that. I don't think that's appropriate. You're a staff member, you need to show respect.
Yeah.
Even if customers don't show you respect,
Yeah, you've got to be
you've still got to be professional.
Yeah.
And there was just one guy who he was the same level as me, but thought he was a team leader. And when I had a difficult situation to deal with, instead of that being my decision, he ended up taking over that. And I was like, don't do that. That should have been my difficult decision. That should have been my difficult situation to have dealt with. But then, so April last year, I left that job, and I've only had one job since then, which was working at Tullish Oktoberfest, which was amazing. One of the best things I've ever done. But it's hard, and like, I think the conditions, the places that you are and what you're doing really condition you.
Oh, absolutely. Like for me, like I think my example of that is me being at school and me being in the workplace. Like school was just not for me at all. I had an absolutely crap time through school. Suffered with bullying and everything. I just, I struggled with attendance for a lot of school. Like, I got kicked out of mainstream high school because I didn't attend because of all my anxieties and my depression.
Sorry, he said high school and not secondary school.
God's sake. High school. My school was called Firhill High School, so I'm referring to it as a high school. So
just shout out to Zach right there.
Is it second? This is a debate for another podcast. We will not do this right now. But high school. Mainstream high school. High school, Zach. I got kicked out. So.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So what happened? Why was you?
Well, I wasn't attending because I just couldn't face mainstream school, and I just got kicked out. It's like, you can't come here anymore. Like, right, shit. I fucked up here.
So then, what happened then? Did you sort of find another school?
There's a school in Edinburgh where I was living at the time. It was basically like a second chance sort of school. So we went for a visit there, and really it was my only other option. It was a school of 20 kids.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
tiny school. It was literally in a little refurbished house.
That must have been nice.
Yeah, it wasn't. Like, there was no avoiding the people you don't like there.
Yeah, true.
There were some interesting people there,
to say the least.
But I went for a visit there. It was really the only option, so started there in what was second year of high school. So that would have been the system in Scotland's different, so it would have been the equivalent of going into year 8 when I started there, and it was good in a way, but it was also bad in a way. I still had a lot of attendance problems. The school environment, as I was saying, it just wasn't for me. Thankfully, looking back now, that's the way I'd rather have it, because you're in school for such little time in your life compared to when you're working. For example, like you're in school for what?
11 years.
Yeah, not long. And then you're working for sort of 40, 45 years at points. You know, it's the way around I'd rather have it. But back then, like, it was just shit, and I suffered. Obviously, it didn't help that I lost my dad in when I was at school as well. So that really.
Are you happy to talk about that?
Yeah, I can do.
In your life,
I can do.
Because I know that's something that sort of was like a big point for you, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, massively. Yeah, I lost my dad to cancer in December 2011. So what was I? 2011. I was 14 at the time, and again when my parents divorced, like, you're still at that age where you can't fully, you can't really understand just how emotional you feel about it. Like I can't remember. It's a strange point in my life. Just looking back, I really can't remember I can't really remember the day it sort of happened. Like, I remember being at school. I remember my mum coming to pick me up from school, but apart from that, I can't remember what emotions I felt at the time. I think it was just a state of shock.
Because you only found out it happened all quite quickly, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the cancer just took over so quick. Like I think it was about, it was at most 2 months it took for the cancer from getting diagnosed with cancer to him passing away. And I couldn't understand.
So then how did you deal with that? I know that there's a specific ride in the UK for you that holds a lot of importance.
Yeah.
If you didn't guess already, it's the big one.
Yeah,
Blackpool Pleasure
everyone
Beach.
knows. and yeah, that's probably where my love. That's where my love. A lot of people say, "Oh, big one's a shit ride." Yeah, it is a shit ride compared to a lot of coasters out there, but that is why the big one holds a special place in my heart. And it was I remember, it was in May 2012. That day when I went back to the Pleasure Beach, I had about, had about a 5-month gap from visiting, which was unheard of for me back then. Visiting Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and going back there and walking through that entrance was so tough. But I still had I was still very fond of the park. I had to do it, but yeah, that was a bit shit going through that entrance without my dad.
Because your dad took you there when you was a kid, right?
Yeah. My first visit there was in 2008 with my dad. Always the person I went with. So yeah, that was a bit tough going, and it's still tough today. Even we're coming up, it'll be 9 years this year since he passed, and it's still tough for me going through that entrance. I always have a little bit of a moment going through there because he's not with me. But yeah, picking myself up from that, January 2012 came around, fresh start. I've been off school for quite a while. And this is something I've always stuck by, and I've always done the same thing. When I've had a low point, I just like getting back to normality, if you get what I mean. Like, I just thought, you know what, I need to drag myself into school, get myself back into a routine. I could sit here in my room doing nothing and knowing full on well that that's not what my dad would want. My dad wants me to go to school and be successful. So yeah, just got myself back to school. Like, fucking hell, it was difficult, but yeah, got myself back into school, got myself back in the correct mindset, and I still do. I'll still live my life with my dad in my head, you know, doing what he'd want me to do. So, yeah, just got myself back into the zone. Did my best going through school. Still wasn't easy. School life just wasn't for me. I had a lot of issues. Yeah, going through school as well, just with daily anxiety going into school. Yeah, I couldn't leave school fast enough.
So what was, obviously during this whole point in time, what was home life like for you? Because obviously you've got an older brother, right?
Yeah.
Well, and obviously your mum, obviously, even though she had been divorced, I imagine that would have taken a bit of a toll on your mum as well.
Yeah.
So what was home life for you at that point?
Like my mum, she's a tough egg. Like she.
Oh, she really is.
Yeah. So yeah, like she got through it. Like my mum obviously wasn't as visible with her like feelings compared to me. Like I've always been quite an emotional person. But yeah.
What about your brother? Because obviously, was your brother?
Well, my brother had moved out in summer 2011 because he started at uni down in London, so he wasn't really around for much of this. And when my parents divorced, my brother didn't speak to my dad, and ever since the divorce, like the first time, when my brother saw my dad again, that was, you know, when he was close to his death. So they went for years without talking. Yeah.
If there was a moment that you could go back to when you were happiest as a kid with your dad, what would that moment be?
I think it was our last holiday together. We went on holiday to Tenerife. And it was actually our only holiday we went on together, like abroad. It's when we went out to Tenerife in summer 2010 for 2 weeks, just us two, and we just had a total laugh out there. Like me and my dad have always been like the two similar ones. Like I was always close to my dad, my brother was always closer to my mum. So yeah, we were just absolute silly nutters out there, and that holiday was one of the best times of my life.
Yeah. So then, obviously, going back to sort of now and the past 6-8 years.
Yeah.
What sort of thing? How did things change after your dad and so from about 2012 time?
Yeah.
How did things start changing?
So things really. I knew my life was sort of taking like a turn for the best, sort of early 2013, because that's when me and Mum sort of decided that Edinburgh, where we were living at the time, wasn't really the place for us. Like I had nothing really there for me. So that's when we made the choice that, you know, we're going to move south to Woking, where we are now. And that sort of motivated me. That got me in a better frame of mind, knowing that, you know, I've just got to get my exams out the way at school. I'll get some standard grades, the equivalent to GCSEs, under my belt. I'll do those, and then I can think about, you know, applying for jobs, because we moved down to Woking in January 14, and that's when things really started to. That's when my mood started to lift, and I started to feel more positive about life and myself. Because 2 days after moving, I had my job interview at Thorpe Park.
Great place.
Great place, yeah, the island like no other.
That's the Jacksonville Stone.
I had my job interview at Thorpe Park, got that job. So yeah, I started to feel more confident in myself, that I was able to do these sorts of things. And that was really when my life just totally changed. You know, I worked at Thorpe Park for several months.
And you were in admissions, weren't you?
Yeah. So I started in admissions. Got cross-trained in rides as well, so did my fair bit.
Yeet.
Shout out to Taryn if you're listening, because I met you on my induction. Absolute legend that you are.
He's done every possible job at Thorpe Park.
It's the Thorpe Park
Taryn has done it.
And you know what? It's funny as well. Like, I don't think I know like this group. So meeting people like Chandler Charlie Whittle. Like, if it wasn't for Taryn, like, I remember like those early days. I thought like obviously moving down here, I knew a few people like down here, but really that's sort of where my friends have come from. Like it's through like the theme parks and coasters and things like that.
So do you think that the theme park community and attending theme parks with these groups, with our group of people, or the group of people that you had back then, has made a really positive impact for your life?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like as I say, moving down here, I had no idea what to expect. Like it was like starting a new life. I had no friends down here. So the fact that I moved down here, developed these friendships within the first couple of months, like meeting people like Chandler, Hannah, and all that.
Hi, Mum. She will be listening.
Yeah. Hello, Hannah. Meeting all these people, and then obviously I've gone on to meet some like many more amazing people like through the community, and it's it's not like we just do roller coasters now. Like I do loads of other things like with these people now, like
going out.
Yeah, like going out, like going to raves, like it's nuts. Like, and I just never thought that I'd ever sort of be so privileged to meet like such amazing people.
Getting drunk with Nick Hudson.
Hi Nick.
So yeah, obviously being a part of this community, even though sometimes it does have its sort of faults and failings, especially recently as we've sort of been witnessing over the past few weeks and months, and actually past year, it has been really good for you, right?
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't, despite some of the negative stuff which does go on, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I've developed so many amazing friendships through the community, which has helped me so much with my mental health, and it's also really nice as well. Like there's so many other people, boys and girls out there in the community who've been through mental health problems in the past as well, and it's very nice to sort of connect with them and chat with them. And I think this is what this podcast is going to do. It's going to
start a conversation.
Yeah, it's going to bring people together to be more open and honest about their mental health. And yeah, like that's something I'm really blessed like with the community. Like I've developed these friendships, and
I remember when I first met you in 2016. We were going to Winter Wonderland.
Yep.
I was very late. I had Luca ringing me. Shout out Mr. Jacobe. And Luca phoning me going, "Why aren't you here? You're late." And I was like, "Oh fuck!" I slept through my alarms. I was really stressing out. I didn't even eat breakfast. I just got in the shower, ran out my house. And got there within like 45 minutes or something, whereas everyone was at Waterloo, and I remember meeting you, and at literally the first few times of meeting you, I thought you hated me. Like, you didn't really talk to me, like, I felt really awkward, and I just felt really uncomfortable. I felt really awkward. Obviously, this was the first time I'd met people. The only people I knew there were Luca, because I'd worked with him for a year, or for a season at Thorpe Park, and then Dean and Luke. They were the only people I knew. So meeting everybody else, it was really uncomfortable for me. Also, I knew Terrell as well. But it was like a really uncomfortable moment because I didn't know any of you, and I just felt like you didn't like me at that first time I met you.
I think that was probably my social anxiety showing themselves as well. Like, and then, it's like all new people.
And we would like, it got to quite a point actually where I think we were at Harvester or something. Yeah, because we'd gone to Towers quite a bit in 2017.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd like bonded over Towers and everything. And then Dean Cox made a joke that you didn't like me, and that sort of set my anxiety off. And I think I was probably a bit off of you for a little bit because I was like, does he actually not like me? Like, we've just spent like 6 days at various points at Towers this year. Like, does he actually not like me?
I think the fact that I'm wanting to spend time at Towers with you,
like sort of showed that actually, you do like it. But it was obviously, you know, when someone makes a joke and says, oh yeah, this person doesn't like you, like, you know what that's like.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same.
Like for me, all I kept going up thinking was, does Rich actually hate me?
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. Like, if somebody, hey, I'm one of the worst for it. Like, I properly start overthinking if somebody says that to me. I'm like, oh god, like, you know, I'm not worth it. I'm not worth it for anyone. Like, and all that sort of stuff. Like, that just starts going through my head straight away.
I mean, also that same day when we went to Winter Wonderland, it was like there were some ups and downs of that day. So like another down moment of that day was I felt really awkward around Chandler because
I was a little fanboy.
I was a little Chandler fanboy back then. I watched all of like Chandler's vlogs from Thorpe Park back in 2016. Everyone else that was putting out vlogs besides Sean, wasn't close to my age, didn't really sort of, like, there was just sort of a bit of a divide there for me. I didn't really, like, Chandler was someone that was a little bit younger than me, but close to my age, and he was having a laugh with his mates at Thorpe Park.
Yeah.
And that was something I enjoyed watching, that was the sort of content I enjoyed. Sean, I loved Sean, I still love Sean, I think he's great. But obviously, like, they were the two channels I used to watch. So back then, Chandler looked like an absolute cunt in his videos. And I thought that was what he was going to be like in real life. I thought he was going to be an absolute dickhead. He's a lovely guy. If you've ever met Chandler, he is the most sweetest guy ever. We bonded over Phantom of the Opera. And actually we bonded over Les Mis. I'm his Valjean and he's my Javert. But it was that thing of, he's actually in my phone as Javert. Like, I'm not even joking. His name's not even Chandler, his name is Javert. Fucking weird.
Okay then.
But yeah, I genuinely thought that Chandler was gonna like be a dickhead and that, I don't have anything to talk about with this guy. And then we sort of got to know each other and it worked out really well. But obviously one of the real pluses of that day for me was Hannah inviting me to Phantasialand. I'd never been, and it was the first sort of thing, and it was I felt welcomed to the group. To be invited straight away to a theme park trip that everyone was planning in the summer. That was like something that really chilled me out and made me feel a bit more at ease with everyone. And since then, there has been a lot of ups and downs with me and that group, hasn't there? As you so well know.
That's friendships, though.
Yeah, there's been multiple times where I've flown off the handle and gone, you're all fucking cunts, I hate you. Quite a few times, actually. Yeah, so obviously, I think both of us sort of got better out of things being with people in the community.
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, like, the people who I've met through the community, like, you know, it's not just, we don't just do theme parks now. Like, you know, we'll go out, we'll go for some drinks, go to raves and all that. Like, I've just met like these amazing people.
So obviously, talking about things that have happened, it's interesting. We were chatting a few weeks ago about how I'm not supposed to talk about specific people. I'm just saying in general how over time people change. Not sort of aiming this at anyone in particular, but how do you feel about friendships and things that have happened over the past couple of years that have now sort of affected the way that you view people or view situations? Because obviously that's something that, obviously, you know, we all know people within the community or even outside the community who we were really close to and have now sort of, those friendships aren't as strong as what they were. How has that affected
you? I think a part of that's just the normal part of life. Like, some people move on. You know, like, I don't think it's there's nothing wrong with like just, you know, going aside like if you've got. I think it's when somebody goes aside like. It's a tough one as well. Yeah, people change. Like I've always said, like we're all different people. Like throughout our lives, like we go through like phases, and yeah, people drift apart, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think for me, is I've always, when I was younger, I spent quite a lot of time getting walked over, and I'm now far more open and honest with people. Like if I don't like what somebody's done, I'll just go flat out and tell them. And that's what I expect from my friends as well. Like if people feel like I've done something wrong, I don't feel like somebody's a true friend to me unless they tell me that I've done something wrong. Like if you can't tell me, or if you don't feel like you're able to tell me, then that I feel a bit kind of guilty, because I want like somebody as my close friend to be able to tell me when I've done wrong. And I feel like that I've changed over time with that. Like, say, I used to get walked over quite a lot. I was quite sort of weak soul, and now like I am, yeah.
So
damn fiery.
Just like obviously over your life, obviously. So, is there people that you were very close to that you wish you were close to still? Like, from whether it's from Scotland or whatever, are there people there that you wish you were still close with?
Yeah, like there's a couple of people from school, who I miss dearly. But then again, we've just all sort of got on with our own lives. Like we've got our jobs, we've got our relationships.
So going, obviously, you mentioned about school. How has the distance between living down south and living in Scotland? Obviously, you've got some friends in Scotland, and how has that distance sort of affected your friendship and your mental health? Because I imagine if you were so close to certain people up in Scotland and not be able to see them all the time, that could sort of impact your own.
Do you know what? Like, I've got I've got my good friends up in Scotland, but that's not affected it at all, because I still, as you know, I still get up to Scotland on a very regular basis. You know, sometimes once a month, and I see them, and they're coming down here. We still see an awful lot of each other. So yeah, that's not really affected me in that way. But you know, it's like when we do spend time together, we just have a proper good laugh. Like, you know, sometimes and you can view this kind of either way. Like you could say it's for the worst, or you could say if it's for the better. Like when we do spend time with each other now, you know, we just have such a good laugh. You know, when there's up there, like, you know, I was often seeing them like, you know, once every week or so. It just gets a bit sort of, you know, oh hi, how you doing? But now it's just like, alright mate, you know, how's it going?
Yeah,
you've got proper laugh.
Yeah.
You've always got a conversation. You know, we'll go out and we'll have a couple of drinks and whatnot. And yeah, so for me, it's a negative that I can't see them as much, but it's also a positive, because when I do get to see them, we have such a good laugh together. And I think that's such a fundamental point in life, that regardless of the amount of negatives that you've got going on, there is always a positive. I always live by that throughout life, there's always a positive.
Good, yeah.
As much as there's negatives, shit tons of negatives, but there is always one positive. Focus on that positive.
Good. So obviously, before we wrap it up, I want to sort of go back to the community and how, just how you think the community is doing as a whole. Obviously, there's been a lot of specific things going on recently, which we're obviously not. I'm not going to talk about that because everyone knows what these certain things are. But what I suppose what I want to ask is, do you feel like a lot of the guys in our community are sort of really trying to reach out now. Obviously, bear in mind things like, so for me personally, mental health wasn't a big thing that was talked about 11 years ago when I started going through it and self-harming and things. But I noticed last year a lot of guys within our community trying to reach out on Twitter or Facebook saying things like, I feel really down, you know, I don't know the exact tweets, I can't quote them, but do you feel like guys in our community especially are starting to want to open up and want to talk about things?
I feel like everyone, boys and girls in the community are doing it, and I think coming to terms with how you're feeling is a very good thing. Like, you can live in denial and that's just not healthy. But if you're coming to terms, you are being open about it, I think that's the best thing. So I'd encourage, you know, even like, you know, just not you don't have to go public with it. Just speak out to your friends or something. If you're going through it. This is for guys and girls. Just speak to someone. Like, just come to terms with it, and do things to help you. Pretty much. I don't know if that sort of describes it well or what, but just don't suffer in silence, basically.
So just before what did you do other than obviously going to theme parks and things that sort of really helped you to be at this point now where you're comfortable to be open and talk about the way you've been feeling and what's gone on in your life?
Just little things like, I started. It sounds like it won't help at all, but like little things like, you know, getting fit and healthy. That's enabled me to kind of process things better in my head, and I've been able to then speak more openly about it. And then hearing other people's experiences has really helped as well. Like, that's made me feel like, you know, like when you're going through this, you sometimes feel very isolated, and you feel like I'm the only person in the world going through this, when actually you're not. And you hear other people's stories, and you realise that, you know what, I'm not alone. There are people out there who I can open up, and they'll kind of understand how I'm feeling. So, that's been really good. That's when I started to kind of really open up, and when I learned that, you know, I'm not the only one who's going through this, and there's people out there who I can speak to and they'll understand how I feel.
So what would you say to any of the guys specifically in the community, what would you say to them if there's any guy out there that's feeling really down, really low, what would you sort of say?
I think the worst thing anyone can do is suffer in silence. Talk to someone, be it your parents, your siblings, your friends. Just for God's sake, speak to someone. Because I've seen people out there who've not spoken to anyone about it, and I've seen people, you know, just go through hell with it. So for whatever you do, you don't have to be vocal online about it. Just speak to someone.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Rich, for being on my first official guest on this podcast. I hope I didn't grill you too much.
No. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's different, isn't it, to chat about these sort of things. And just be so open about it. So before we go, guys, I just want to say a massive thank you to Rich. But if you do have any questions, or you want to be involved, or you just sort of want someone to talk to, give us a follow on Twitter, which is @RMC_podcast. And we'll try and help as much as we can. Obviously, I'm not a professional, so remember, if you are sort of feeling really down, use the services like Samaritans, Calm. I'll put all the links in the description, so you guys can sort of get that information as well. But I will be seeing you guys really soon with another episode. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you all enjoy Blackpool Pleasure Beach opening weekend. I'm sure you'll see us all in there. At the Red Velvet.
Please don't give me too much hate for this.
Velvet Coaster, I think. We'll see you at Velvet Coaster. getting on it on Friday. And
can't wait to get drunk with you all. Let's go.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much, Rich.
Thank you.
And see you soon. Goodbye.